Good morning and welcome to Kitty Talks. We share inspirational life stories that encourage you and inspire you to share yours, create yours. Today I have with me the beautiful Christine Eilvig. Hi, Christine.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine. Full of snow.
Yeah, all the way from Denmark. How exciting.
Yeah.
Christine is an author, she's a spiritual mentor, and she considers the world her playground. So, Christine, I'm dying to find out more about you and your work and your journey, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So would you mind explaining a little bit about what it is that you do in the world?
It's always when people ask me, I'm like, I don't even know that. That's how it feels. But I'm a mother of 3, and I'm a spiritual teacher and a spiritual mentor, and I'm an author of 2 books here in Denmark. When we have a bestseller in Denmark, it's like 3,500 copies because it's like a small country, but I do have a bestseller.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I've been doing a certification course where it's a training where you become a spiritual mentor and teacher. And I've done that for 6 years. So I have this traditional online platform where I do a newsletter and I have a blog and I do a lot of my teaching online. And then a few times a month, I come out of my shell and I meet with Danish and Norwegian and Swedish women, and I teach my stuff to them. And a lot of them are mothers and entrepreneurs too, or wanting to be. So spirituality is like the baseline of everything that I do, but for me, it's like common sense. It's like breathing and eating and sleeping. So I don't consider myself, this. I don't meditate and I don't do yoga and I don't consider myself spiritual. For me, it's like common sense. So, but people associate me with that, and I figured out that. What I do is that I translate spirituality. So I have this talent to deliver like quite complex ideas in a very very straightforward way, and people get it, and they also understand how and when to implement it. So I'm a very practical, material kind of rooted girl, and people kind of like the combination of the whole, woo-woo concepts, and then the ability to take them out so you can look at, the results in the bank and in the home and in your motherhood and in your relationships. So that's kind of what I do. I translate things that people spend a lot of time trying to understand.
Fantastic. And I'd love to know how you really got into doing that, actually, because what did it, one day you thought, okay, I'm going to be a spiritual mentor, or how did it happen?
I was brought up with my dad is an entrepreneur, or he's an accountant, but he's always had his own firm. And my mother, she was a school teacher, so they were both very academic. So they, even though they didn't say it, it was like you're supposed to be an academic. So the very long period of my life until I was 25, I began very creative, very spiritual, very entrepreneurial. And then I kind of just shifted into this academic world and basically lost myself in many ways. And then at 25, Mass and I decided to have my first child. And being pregnant and being in my body and creating this life, I felt like there are so many things I need to change, and there are so many things I'm not able to kind of explain and understand. So once I had our son, that was kind of an awakening. And a friend of mine in the mothering group, we were in Denmark, we're in groups of mothers, so we hang out. And she introduced me to You Can Heal Your Life with Louise Hay.
Okay, yeah.
And that was like a huge revelation. And Louise goes into this concept of we're creating our own world, and we're creating everything, like from diseases and careers and everything. And she has this whole chapter in the back where it's like, do you have a headache? Then that means this, and and that just fascinated me. And I felt like, oh my God, everyone needs to know this, because then we don't need to become sick. We don't need to be poor and everything. And I kind of began spreading that whole concept. And I attracted people that were like really horrified that I would say that we create everything.
Wow.
So that, because I love to be liked and I don't like conflict. So that brought me in like a very weird place. And I thought maybe I should just keep all of this to myself and not really share so much about this, and then just do it myself. And then my son got like ear problems like his dad had. So I fixed that with her. And I got to experience a lot of fun stuff. And we had our daughter. And then when it was time for me to, begin my so-called academic career, I felt like I didn't have any desire to do so. So I began doing feng shui and checking up on angels and auras and all that weird stuff. And again, I had that kind of revelation. Everyone should know this. They should know that, this and that. And I stumbled across the same thing that a lot of people got very angry when I pointed out, you can change this and I changed that. And
yeah.
They would say like, oh, so you're saying that it's my responsibility that my child is suffering from this and that. And I thought, oh God, I don't want to talk about this subject.
Yeah, it's quite confronting.
Yeah. So I changed my focus, and I began focusing on money and business. And I thought, okay, this is like so opposite from illness. And I discovered the same thing. I created a lot of success, and then I was like, oh, everyone needs to know that we can become millionaires and we can have fun and be with our kids at the same time. And people were so angry again. They were like, oh, so you're saying that I'm responsibility for what I make? And I thought, ooh, this money thing is not something about it. And then at some point, I don't know when this point was, but I kind of figured out I need to look at why I create things.
Yeah.
So I got into the whole law of attraction and all of that, and I kind of healed myself. And a long story short, I realized that I felt so wrong, and it was like from my upbringing, this entrepreneurial free spirit, turning academic, and then trying to teach everyone else how to live their life, and not focusing as much on my own stuff. So I went into psychotherapy and all of that stuff, and then I began to understand, who and when and how to teach. And not being this preacher kind of a girl, but waiting to be asked and people to hire me and all of that. So I've had a lot of boundary stuff going on.
Yeah, well, I've been through that similar experience in my life. When you find this stuff out, you're so passionate and you help people, but it's true how much conflict it brings up in people, because it's like leading a horse to water. You can only do it when someone's ready.
Yeah. So now I don't talk unless I'm asked, and I don't share advice unless people, directly ask for it. And that's brought me a lot of peace and a lot of freedom and a lot of alone time and just a space to be me. And that's so nice. And then now I have clients and customers, they're like eager to learn. And
so you're attracting a different type of person who's coming to you for the information rather than that's really interesting shift, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah.
It's a subtle shift, but it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And I love what you're doing, because obviously you've created a life, and you're with your children. You said you have 3 children and a beautiful home. And obviously, again, what I think is amazing is, and this is what more and more women should be doing and are learning to do, is actually we can still have a life, a career, and then obviously not sacrifice the needs of the family. So was that one of your primary kind of motivations?
Yeah, I'm a very freedom-oriented person, so I don't like to have to do something in order to. So I spent, the 21st 5 years of my life having to do all kinds of things. And I remember I visited Louise Hay in Tucson, and she said, if there's a should in your sentence, you shouldn't do it.
Wow.
And that was a huge revelation, because my whole life at that point was built around all my shoulds. I should become an academic. I should blah, blah, blah. So I kind of shifted from then, and I focused on, if I want to do it, I'm going to do it. And we all long for that freedom-based lifestyle. And what I found, in order to get there, you need to go through a lot of layers and a lot of stuff in order to kind of shed all the stuff that's not matching that freedom-based lifestyle.
Yes.
So it's really what I find. It's not the money, it's not the time. It's like the feeling inside of living without all the shoulds. That's like a perfect feeling for me.
So in any moment in time now, do you follow your bliss, would you say? Would you do what it is that they say, follow your bliss?
Yeah, I try to navigate, does it feel good? And I don't mean, because there are a lot of things we do, and it's not like the whole package that's like feel good, but like if the direction I'm going in, if the task, I'm standing in front of, if it feels good, I do it. And if it doesn't feel good, I kind of pause and I tweak and I look, why is something off here?
Yeah.
Why is it not working? And since I've begun doing that, like every time something's a little bit off, I pause and I adjust. Since I've done that, it's like my life flows a lot more than before. I don't reach stuff that I have to clean up or discuss or like figure out. So I'm really tuned into my feelings and emotions. And again, I was brought up to kind of ignore them.
Yeah.
So I was brought up to kind of like, oh, this academic stuff doesn't feel good, but I should do it because I need to make money, I need to be successful, and I need to this and that. And now I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel good. Sell it, get rid of it, adjust, do something. Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds to me like you very much moved from head-based decisions to heart-based.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Like a lot of us are in this time. Yes.
Yeah. And it's really interesting that you kind of touch on that concept, because obviously one of the themes and genre that is coming out of Kitty Talks is showing people that actually they can follow their passion and follow what it is that they enjoy and make a living, a career and a life from it. And that's exactly what you've done.
Yeah. And I've been doing this work for so long now that's my lifestyle. I follow my heart, and I find that, everything can be avoided. It's just one conversation, like a sentence or two. And if we're able to say that or do that, then we're good to go. But of course, I stumble through things where it's like, oh, I have to say this and I don't want to because I hate conflict and all of that. But once I do it, and then I'm just good to go.
Fantastic.
Every time.
We've got a lot of female listeners. And I know that a lot of them are on this entrepreneurial, spiritual path. What advice would you have for a woman who, she's in a 9-to-5, but that doesn't necessarily where she wants to be? What advice would you have for her around how she can shift and transition into that kind of freedom-based lifestyle?
So, first of all, I find that a lot of women are not really true to themselves. They're like a few adjustments, and then they would kind of like their job. So a lot of people are like trying to numb out a little bit with the freedom-based entrepreneurial kind of a lifestyle dream. And I'm very much into the whole Myers-Briggs typing. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And not all of us are meant to be entrepreneurs.
No.
I am. My type is like totally geared to that, but a lot of people are actually meant to like serve and be employed by someone else. So like the PA I have, my virtual assistant, she's like, she's freedom based also, but I provide the jobs for her. And she loves that. So she travels the world and has, sometimes I'm like, why am I not doing what she's doing? Because that's freedom too. So that's like the first thing to like kind of look, do you even want to, be an entrepreneur?
Don't have to do it like that.
Yeah. Or do you just need to tweak the way you're working, or do you just need a new job? So that's like one thing I would like to stress, that we're not all meant to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no, it's really good advice.
and then if you are that kind of unemployed type like you and I,
unemployable now.
Yeah, then it's like having a baby. A business is like a baby. So I'm very much into, in the beginning, maybe you need to have a part-time job and then focus, on your business. And I'm very much into just taking it one step at a time and enjoying the process, because so many people, they're like just looking forward to the day the millions are rolling in, and they miss the whole journey.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and now I'm like going international. I've been saying that quite some years now. And I'm just enjoying the process so much that I don't really care when it happens. Because I know I'm not going to be happy with another bestseller, even though it's like an international Amazon or whatever bestseller. That's, it's not going to make me more happy than I am now.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of floating around and enjoying the process. And does that even make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense, because what you're saying is you're just living life in the moment on a daily basis. You've got an idea of where you want to go, but that's not because you're happy in the moment. That's not your driving factor or force. You're living and feeling through.
Yeah. So if you can't help it and you have ideas and you need to be an entrepreneur, then you should go ahead and just follow directions from your heart, and then it will just unfold in a very nurturing way. Yeah.
And what do you, because the conversation that's coming up at the moment for me a lot is how, I think women, we're rising, we're shifting. The rise of the feminine is coming to take its rightful place with the masculine. But in this process, we've actually probably taken on more, because we're now it's expected, I would say, for us to have a living and bring in money into the household. And obviously we're still the predominant carers within, children and families. And so actually, we've kind of got to juggle more at the moment.
Yeah, it's like we all need a wife.
Yeah, we do.
I'm doing it a little bit opposite, because Mads, he's at home. He's like a stay-at-home dad. So he's doing all of that kind of stuff. So we're kind of shifted to like, but I do delegate like cleaning and all of that. So I don't have so many things in my head. And other times I love doing laundry, and I can just, take that as a time to ground myself. So I'm very much aware that I can do anything, but I can't do it, at the same time. So I choose where I spend my time. And I think we're all kind of working our way into balance. So both male and female have the feminine and the masculine. And I feel a lot of women are talking a lot about the feminine, but they're more masculine than ever. Because they're not chilling, they're not taking time off, and they're not doing their nail polish and all of those feminine tasks. So there's a lot of talk about the feminine, but a lot of walk around the masculine. That's the way
And how can women, because you're right, I think, we're out in the kind of male-dominated world, we're working, we are in our masculine a lot more. And how can women shift back into that kind of feminine nature?
So for me, like I've done a lot of body work. I've had a lot of help with achieving that balance in myself. So I've balanced the part of me that wanted to like work extra hard when I needed something. So it's like shifting everything, and what you're doing, you should just do the opposite. And that's easy to say, but it's so difficult to practice.
Yeah.
So when we're like wanting to achieve more, it's logical to act more and do more, but it's actually the opposite. Like the more I want to achieve, the more I just do nothing.
Yeah.
And then after a little bit of break, then a task shows up, and that's like the right task at the right time, and then I act. So I'm very much in tune with the way I act and the way I don't act, my being and my doing.
That's really interesting. So you kind of shift into the receiving energy and wait to see what shows up rather than pushing in the masculine.
Yeah, before I was like leading everyone and myself. And now I'm waiting to, where am I being led, basically?
Okay. And so by the sounds of things, that's what you're doing with your international. So can you give us an example of, because it sounds to me like you wait for the sign and follow up.
Yeah, I was guided to have like new photos this fall, and I went to London, and I had like a great time doing the photos, and I created a beautiful website. And then it was natural to just push, and I felt like, no, I'm not going to push now. The website is up, and that's great, and I'm going to just relax a little bit and kind of match my website so my vibration, you could say, would be aligned with that. And then after Christmas, I felt like now I'm ready to be active and pursue something. And my old brain would be like, oh, we need to do Facebook marketing, and we need to learn this and understand that, and click funnels and this and that. And I felt, oh no, because it doesn't feel good to me. If it feels good to go and just be like this whole geek and nerdy kind of person, but for me, it doesn't feel good. So I felt like I need to find someone who can help me with that, because I don't want to learn it and I don't want to even do it. And then this American guy showed up in my newsfeed, and I felt like a pull to contact him. And now we're talking about, him having to help me with the whole Facebook marketing. So I'm kind of just playing and waiting and acting. And if I'm acting and the result is not there, I kind of take a breather and try something else. And, that's for me is perfection. You just try what works. And if it doesn't work, you just recuperate a little bit and then try again, basically.
Yeah, no, I totally with you around how you kind of live your life. It's one of the things that I'm really passionate with sharing with these life stories is where we listen to our intuition. That's where we should follow, and it's where the energy is going, is where we should be pulled. But how can people get more connection with their voice or their intuition if they're struggling to hear those nudges?
So for me, it was more about letting go of my programming than, adding more stuff, because I feel like we're born intact and we're born with a heart and passion and all of that talents too. So if we just focus on, like, every task I want to do, I focus on becoming a match to it. So I don't really act on the thing. I act on being a match to it. And what I find is every time it's like inner work. So it's like, my brain doesn't know how it would feel like to have like my virtual salon filled with like 1,000 members. It goes into this, how do you answer them? Because here in Denmark, you only have 100, and how would you even, and blah, blah, blah. So I kind of do a lot of work on that, and I love TFT.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a good friend, she's doing that. So I do that every time with her, and I always discover, it's just, every time I want to go something, a new place, there's like a blockage, and it's just because I haven't done it before.
Okay.
So I figure those blockages out. I also have a friend, she's a very good healer, and I say, can you just put a healing on this? And then, stuff falls off, and then I find it's like making a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
A new elevated place.
So you've envisaged, or you have a vision about where you're going, and then you release any blocks that are effectively between you and that vibration almost.
Yeah, because I know if it's not something I'm doing at the moment, I'm not there. I'm not vibrating in that
level.
Not natural for me because I haven't done it.
Yes.
So like what people normally do, they're like, I have this goal. I want to like sell 100 products, and they just go work on it and they try this, that, the other, but they're not really matching it. So it's just going to be hard work and a lot of struggle. And then maybe if they're lucky or very eager, they end up and they create their goal and match their goal, and then
can't keep it.
And the feeling is just like it doesn't fill them up. It's like they need to sleep, and they're like fantasizing of just going on a holiday and not dealing with the thing they need to now provide for these 100 people or whatever it is. So I go about it in a different way. I'm like, I would like to now take my brand out internationally. Okay, I haven't done it before. I need to do the inner work in order to match that. And then all the components will just basically fill themselves out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, makes total sense.
Huh?
Well, I'm just thinking about my own life experience. It makes total sense. Like when I was single, I wanted to be in a relationship, and then I wore an engagement ring. And so when I went to bed at night, I just felt really loved, and I kind of ended up wearing this engagement ring. And of course, and it was very shortly after that I met my partner. Mm-hmm. And I think, like you said, I was in that vibration of that feeling of a partner.
Yeah. And that's the way I do it every time. And it's a very undramatic way of living.
Yeah.
You don't need to like buckle up and work hard and push yourself. It's just, it's a matter of just acclimating to the next thing. Yeah. And it's like when you fill the bathtub up and it's very, very warm, you need to acclimate. So you put your foot in and like a toe and take it out. And so that's kind of like I acclimate to the new next thing I want to create in my life.
Wow.
And when I was in my head a lot, I was driven with this whole master planning, and I was like a wedding coordinator and master this and that. And now I'm like, I don't even know, and I basically don't even care. It's like my life is like this very cool novel. And I'm like, I'm almost putting it away because I don't want to finish it. So it's like, I'm just going to read one page and then, do something else. That's very nice way of living, I find.
Yeah, no, it's a very, and like you said about a feminine way of living, because you're not pushing and striving, and we're taught, I still do believe you get tested by the universe sometimes, and you have to kind of prove that you want it, but it's a very receiving, feminine energy, kind of releasing, very different way.
Yeah, and then I find that a lot of people struggle with the feminine, so they don't, take time off, and they're not being a lot. Yeah. And they also struggle with the masculine, because when it's time to act, they don't even have the nerve to act. They're like, I don't know, I'm doubting this. Because the masculine is like, I'm going after this, boom, now it's done.
Yeah.
So you don't have to spend a lot of time, and the heart is very much attuned to making decision, and all of our traumas are like making it difficult for us.
Yeah. So you mentioned TFT and healing. Is there anything else you can recommend for us? Because I think a lot of people here can relate to that idea of having a vision around what they want their life to look like, but it's how we recognize those blocks and actually go. Like,
I need to put power on my computer.
Okay. Right. Let me put.
And then can you ask again?
So we were talking about how we can raise our vibration to get in alignment with what it is we're trying to call into our life and do it in a feminine way. Mm-hmm. And I was asking, how can, once women have got clear around the vision of what it is that they're looking to pull in and where they're looking to go, you mentioned healing and TFT. Is there any other, is there a simple way that we can identify our blocks and maybe work on them? And
I find for me, and that's where I become very masculine, I get a lot of help, because I grew up being taught that we need to do everything ourselves. So asking for help or paying for help, that was like something you didn't do.
Right.
And the more I hire people and get help, the more success I get, the faster that process. So I've been on that journey to doing everything myself, to just hiring people. So what I do, I just, identify the challenge I have or the problem. And I'm like, show me someone who can help me with this.
Yes.
And then a book shows up, or often a person shows up, or I see something in a reality show or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I get light on my challenge, and then I'm able to move forward. So, and I find that, again, a lot of people are a little bit hesitant around being helped. They're like, oh, we can do this ourselves. And for me, as soon as I started focusing on my, talents and stuff that I'm good at, the more help I kind of get also.
Yeah.
So I'm very much into delegating the growth even.
Yeah. But I love what you're saying about giving it or asking the universe for something that can help unblock you or showing you which direction to go, which person, the book. Because that's something everyone can do.
Yeah. So I call it, I step aside and I have someone else deal with it. And I think that's a challenge too, because a lot of us, we're ambitious and we're very driven.
Yes.
So when we need to get things going, the last thing we want to do is step aside. But that's when I step aside.
And that brings me on to the subject of obviously law of attraction and resistance, because quite often we want something so much. Actually, we're resisting it. We have to let it go to enable the flow of energy to come in.
Yeah. I usually say whenever we really want something, we're not at all ready for it. So that's really when we should just step aside and leave it for a while. So I'm actually, of course I have wants and I have desires, but I just kind of feel them and then I let them go.
Yes.
And then usually when I'm not thinking about it, then this turns up or this turns out, or I'm able to go. And, this Christmas I went dog sledding with my kids and Mads, and I've been wanting to do that for many years and I haven't acted on it. And then, suddenly it was time and we were in Sweden and it was like, oh, we have dog sledding. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I've been wanting to do that forever.
Beautiful.
That's also an example of just stepping aside. And then once you do it, it's like life becomes very humorous. It's like a joke and you couldn't figure it out or think it up yourself, but you're like amazed of the whole thing.
So again, I'm conscious of our female audience, and generally women want to manifest men, soulmates. So is there anything that a woman can do, to let that go? Because like you said, I think quite often we want it so much. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, she looked for her partner for, a couple of years, and she just said, I just had enough. And so I totally put it down. And then a couple of weeks later, he came in.
Yeah. Yeah. So every time we're like really wanting something, we're actually coming from a place of lack. So we're kind of lacking that thing or that energy in our life. And it's like once you lose the keys to your house, you'll spend like frantically hours looking for them. And then when you make a cup of tea and look out, you're like, oh, there they are.
Yes.
It's the same principle with the men we want in our lives. It's also what I always say is just take the men or the man out of the equation and work on yourself. Yeah. So all the things you want in a relationship, go do that now, like you did with your ring. So kind of come from that space, because a lot of times we're lacking or longing for someone or something to fix the feelings of loneliness or not being successful or whatever. So when we fix that, then he can show up and match that.
Fantastic.
So I'm very much into being whole and coming from coming from that space instead of like longing for someone to make us whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Needing somebody to fix you. And because that's what you'll attract, actually, unless you do that work on yourself, you'll bring in someone who's at that similar neediness level. So
yeah, and that's going to show, very dramatic.
you so much for listening to Kitty Talks. Be sure to head over to our kittytalks.com website, become a member of our exclusive club, and you'll get free interviews and access to our private Facebook group, exclusive webinars and secret success interviews. See you there.